exercise judgment right now.
Because we have...
In the name of Jesus.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Standing in the office of the prophet of God, I execute judgment on you, COVID-19. I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you killer, you get out, you break your power, you get off this nation. I demand judgment on you. I demand a vaccination to come immediately. I call you done. I call you doggone. You come down from your place of authority, destroyer. You come down and you crawl on your belly like God commanded you when he put his foot on your head in the Garden of Eden. You were destroyed through COVID-19. No more!
No more. No more.
It
No more.
is finished.
Well, you heard it from here first, folks. The COVID-19 is finished. It is I, evil apostate, rocking out to Pastor Kenneth Copeland, who's using prophetic powers to dominate the tragedies of the world. And here we are today on another episode of Talk on Things and Stuff. So roll the intro video. Hold on, technical times. All right, everybody, today we are doing call-in show, but the normal bum who is here doing call-in show asked me to fill in because he, he's got other things going on in his life. And he says, evil apostate, perhaps, the people who is asking for you, perhaps you can do a call-in show and we'll see if it works that way. If it totally flops, he can blame me. So that is what I'm doing. For those of you that don't know, I am evil apostate. Well, my history is sort of like I was in church a long time ago, in Mormon church, and then I realized all the different things that the leaders were saying that, if you do those things, then you are evil, like, thinking for yourself and, enjoying, going to like museums on Sunday or drinking tea or, loving gay child in life as though they were deserving of every opportunity and privilege that anyone else. Like, since I did all those things, I was evil apostate. So I figure, okay, if I'm evil apostate, I'm evil apostate. We'll just run with it, So here I am, evil apostate, engaging in the loud laughter, ready to take your calls. Now, before we get going, let's see. I have to put a banner because today is call-in episode where we basically just take your calls. There's no format. It's all improv. And here we go. Okay, so here's banner. So where? Oh, there on the bottom of the screen right there. You see if you want to call, the number is 210-422-2222, and hopefully the clown who set this up will have technical situation under control, because in the past there have been technical issues which have prevented adequate discussion of things. Now, in the meantime, because many times, it's the middle of the day, sometimes people, they don't want to call, they're doing their own job and everything like that. Everybody's, holed up in COVID-19. Well, sometimes, we got to come up with other things to do, so let's see what we got. While we wait for the call, I believe somebody sent to me, page from the internet, the church website where crusty old prophet man Russell M. Lesson is talking to the youth, and maybe we just do we do running commentary until we get. Oh wait, hold on, we got the call. Hold up. Okay, hold up. Hello, you're on the Talk on Things and Stuff with Evil Apostate. Hello.
Well, Evil Apostate, I like your little hand puppet, I gotta say.
What are you talking about?
Well, I don't
I'm
know,
Evil
that might
Apostate.
be you. So, you're cuter in real life. But anyway,
Oh.
did you see the John DeLynn Mormon Stories episode this morning regarding the Book of Abraham?
Oh, with Radio Free Mormon, where they talk about John Gee and him basically, blowing up with Civil War, Mormon apologetics about Book of Abraham.
Yes. Do you ever feel sorry for Mormon apologetics?
Sometimes I do. That's, it's one of the privileges of being Evil Apostate is that, like, you can call the bullcrap when you see it. You don't have to be like, oh, there's some very nice corn in that crap. Everybody likes corn, right? Yeah, so the corn in the crap is good. Let's all eat some more corn. Like, you don't have to do that when you're Evil Apostate. But, if your bread is buttered by the church and you still are under thumb of people who are like, if you don't toe the line, we're going to like do away with your retirement and everything. Well, then you got to do it. You got to play the game. So, when you start doing that, you build your entire reputation on saying that the corn in the crap is good. Well, then you better stick to the corn. And if they ever say,
oh my God, you're killing me, buddy. You're totally killing me. But
well,
yeah,
anyway,
that is exactly what I thought. I thought to myself, do you think Daniel Peterson realizes that he's eating that exact same corn?
He's not just eating the corn. He's the guy out on the street telling everybody to come eat it themselves. Everybody, this corn is really good. Come and eat it. Yeah, it's almost Daniel C. Peterson branded corn. It
should, like Daniel G. G. Peterson.
Oh yeah, freshly picked from the logs. Here's the corn. But that's the way it goes.
Like apricot popcorn. It's totally real.
Oh, that's terrible. It is only metaphor. That's okay. Don't worry. The family of Daniel C. Peterson, we know he's a good guy. He's just, he's put in difficult spots.
He loves everybody, especially people that like to praise him.
Well, we all like to have our ego stroked. I love it when people are like, oh, Evil Apostate, you're so funny. So people are like, oh, Daniel C. Peterson, you really put that guy, in the corner by saying the stupid things. And, it works for your audience. But, what are we going to do? We're all
Doesn't Daniel
human.
C. Peterson remind you of let's call it a mental gymnast or a thumb wrestler in a really tiny leotard?
Thumb wrestler in leotard. Like Russian wrestler with stretchy outfit, and he comes to the battle and then holds out his thumb, and that's where all the battle's taking place, I guess. Maybe. That's interesting metaphor.
All right, well, I love you, Evil Apostate. Don't give up.
Oh, I will not. Stay safe in the world of the COVID. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Oh boy, you want to see, the people that you once respected and trusted completely throw their reputation and any dignity that they have down the pot. You just go watch those episodes, both the Mormon Stories with Radio Free Mormon, as well as Radio Free Mormon's episode on, exactly what John Gee did to get himself kicked off of the editorialship of the journal for the study of the ancient Egyptian antiquities in Canada or wherever that journal was from. It's just amazing, and you kind of feel bad for the guy because he's got to make sure, because we all like to feel consistent with ourselves. He's got to make sure he never changes his mind and everything. But it's just really sad to see that stuff go, because the church doesn't give a crap. They're like, we'll poop him out just as soon as we need to, and come bring the new blood on board. Maybe we can train up this Stephen Smoot to come with whole new brand of apologetics. And I think maybe that's why Gee and Peterson, they're making sure that the people like Stephen Smoot toe their line so the church does not get their fresh young face. And then they get different fresh young face. They get Kweku L or something like that for it. Although he brings more MTV generation. That's dating me even. MTV generation is even out of date. well, TikTok generation, for the children who can't really hold their attention span beyond a 10-second clip, that's really too long themselves. They got to come up with new apologetics for that. So that's what they do. Anyway, all right. Phone lines are open again. 210-422-2222. You can call and speak to the evil apostate. In the meantime, let's see. All right. President Russell M. Nelson, conversations with the youth and the kids. Let us see what we have. Are children of God made from the same pattern? Can you feel my love? The prophet asks. That sounds very inappropriate. We're definitely going to click on that one. All right, what do we got here? Can you feel my love? The prophet asks. Okay, number one, that's really awkward question. Like, even if you're like father or parent and you're talking to children and you're saying like, can you feel my love? Like usually you think of abusive relationship where the parent is like, slapping the kid upside the head and be like, I do this because I love you. Can you feel the love? Like that's kind of what it reminds me of, but it will probably be different because, he's gentle, old grandfatherly guy. Let's take a look. All right, here we go. What do we see? Okay, let's press play.
I just want to ask you one question. Can you feel our love for you?
You don't want to be the guy in the audience who's like, no, sir, I cannot feel your love. You just look like old guy who smells like Bengay, and I really am not feeling it. You're not going to say that. I mean, you were chosen. You're one of the chosen who got to come and sit in the old historic Smith family household to speak with the prophet. Of course you're going to say yes. Okay, let's keep going.
Good. Because we're here because we love you. We love the youth of the church. And we know that the future of the church is in the hands of your generation.
Well, to be fair, he is fulfilling the prophetic tradition of the old crusty prophet loving the youth of the church. Joseph Smith, the first prophet, loved the youth so much that he thought it was necessary to marry a few of them as young as 14, few months shy of the 15th birthday. So this is grand prophetic tradition of religious authority man expressing love for youth. Of course, I make joke. He's not talking about secret, polygamous, illegal marriage in this case. He's talking about, creepy, some would say cult-like love. I mean, let's just see, is that expression cult-like? Well, imagine we were watching video of David Miscavige speaking to children in Scientology, children he doesn't know. He hauls them into crazy L. Ron Hubbard's, childhood home. And then he's like, hey, children, can you feel my love for you? We'd be looking at that as non-Scientologists being like, that's a little creepy. That's a little cult-like. But it's not when it's your group. So we're okay with this. All right, let's keep going. Here we go. We press the play. Yes.
So we not only love you, but we trust you. And we know that you will be a great blessing for your families, for your marriages, for your children yet unborn.
This is like typical con artist thing. They call con artists because con is short for confidence, and it's part of the game that they play where the con man is like, hey, you look trustworthy. I will trust you to believe everything that I say. It's you are flattering your audience to have them let down their guard so that they believe you. This is a very common thing, big wig leader comes and speaks to group. He says, I love you. You must feel my love for you. And that way, anything that he says, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt because they love you. So they come in, we love you. We love all your people. And then they start telling you like who to hate or who to treat as less than human. And you take it in because, he said that it is for love and we got to believe it. So that's how they go. Except for doing this. Somebody else in the comments who we go, who's this? So Maxwell Unearthly says, wait, I thought we were chosen generation. Yes, there's amazing meme out there where, they show all the crusty old prophets from as far back as the 1800s telling people they are chosen generation. Well, every generation is chosen generation. And of course, that classic saying, if everybody is chosen, then nobody is. And that's exactly how things are going here. But here we go. We continue.
You'll be the hope of the world.
Yeah, we hope you keep paying tithing.
So when you look in the mirror, look beyond what you see to what you will become. You'll become the leaders, not only in the church, but in society.
Except for you, young lady, you will never be priesthood leader, so don't get too uppity right there. All right, keep going.
Because you'll be righteous and worthy of all emulation.
I remember these talks when I was teenager, little dragon, and they start talking about worthy, and you're like, I have a factory that I have been doing regular maintenance on, and so you telling me that I should be worthy immediately makes me hate myself. I am going to be very quiet and look down now. So let's see if we can see which of these youths are being very quiet and looking down, because they are probably the ones doing the overtime factory maintenance. Let's keep going.
So I think in conclusion, speaking for Wendy and my brethren of the 12 and the First Presidency, I'd like to leave a blessing with you, that you'll find joy in life, that you'll continue to pursue your education, that you'll continue to be faithful disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ, and find the joy that his gospel will bring to you. Should there be illness among you or in your families, we invoke a blessing of health and healing consistent with the will of the Lord for those individuals.
He's so good. He brings in loophole. This is great. I have prophetic blessing that if anyone in my family gets sick, they will be healed. Loophole, small print, as long as that is what the Lord wants. So if they don't get healed and they die, because I'm pretty sure this was filmed before the COVID, because it looks like back when they had, historic firesides by the Smith home a few years ago. If they don't get healed, then, well, it was not the Lord's will. So hopefully none of the kiddos in this video had family get sick with the COVID, but here we go. All right, let's keep going.
We express our love for each of you. Elisha, Navu, Landon, Lily, Xavier, Dylan, Haley, Jackson, and Elena. And
Did he leave anybody out? Like, this is kind of just going overboard. I can see the PR people be like, hey, okay, there is this idea perhaps that some people have that the prophet doesn't care about each individual person. We've made big deal about saying that Christ knows everybody individually by name. So, Nelson, make sure after you tell all the children that you love them, even though you don't know anything about them, and that they will continue to do the good and not do the bad, call each of them by name, that way they know. Of course, then we will be alienating all the people who are not present, because the blessing you just gave is only for these 12 clowns here, but, we do what we can. All right, let's keep going.
bear our testimony that God lives. Jesus is the Christ. This is his church. We are his people. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Every time they say this is his church, we are his people, like, why would they make that exclusionary statement as though the rest of the world was not also God's people? It refers to, this whole self-flattery, we are better, we are the chosen ones. It's just totally part of the thing, It's a little bit sickening, a little bit gratifying. Let's step back and look at this video. It's just him first telling them that he loves them, and then sort of making like an extortion, like the mafia guy comes and sits all the mafia people down. He's like, of course, I love you. I want to hear each of you tell me that you also love me too. So we have big circle of love. And then anything that I impose upon you, you can only interpret as a manifestation of that love. that's exactly what's going on here. But, it is what it is. All right. Well, that was weird. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what this video serves, like what purpose it serves. It's just a little bit creepy for the prophet. Like, if he's just going to express love for people, that's okay. But he's like asking kind of disingenuous question about, tell me you love me. Can you feel my love? It's just really weird. All right. So we have other video here. Again, the phone number if you want to call, 210-422-2222. Nobody really wants to listen to me just blather on because I don't really have much to say. I'm just making crap up. But it's much more better if somebody calls in. We can have live conversation. Perhaps you can share how your own evil apostate ways have affected you. Perhaps, you are mowing the lawn with your family on Sunday instead of dressing up in the white shirt and suit and tie and sitting down in front of the Zoom camera. That is evil apostate thing. Perhaps you have started to ask questions and look for information on your own without first filtering it through the propaganda filter of the church. That is also evil apostate ways. But let's go to next video. All right. Oh, this is classic video. Okay. Let's see. I've seen people talk about this video.
Why is it important for us to know that we have a prophet on the earth?
Ooh, I know. That way, when he says something, we don't bother to question it. We just follow the prophet and do what he says without applying our own critical thinking skills or verifying anything that he says or thinking for ourselves. Is that right?
If we didn't think that we had a prophet, it would be hard. Because if we didn't really listen to him, our prophet, then we wouldn't be able to live the gospel as well as we can when we listen.
Wait a second. So if you didn't listen to prophet, you couldn't follow the gospel. Well, let's have story time, children, about a little girl, 19-year-old girl named Nancy Rigdon. Now, Nancy Rigdon was given command by prophet, let's get secret married and do the thing on the side without my wife knowing. And she didn't listen to the prophet. She said, prophet, get out of here or I'm going to scream and tell everybody what you're doing. And she didn't listen to the prophet because she believed in fidelity and chastity and the scriptural morality as it had been portrayed to her. So she ended up being able to live the gospel better by not following the prophet, because I hate to break it to you, but sometimes the prophets are just trying to use a religious authority to get their jollies off. It's just one of the things that they do. So you better, add some nuance to that answer one of these days. Perhaps the primary leader will say, well, Pearl, that is a good suggestion, but we must always remember to take what anyone claiming religious authority would say and check it against our own conscience, conventional morality, and, decent, obvious standards for acceptable human behavior. Perhaps she will correct her like that, but it is not likely.
That's great counsel, Pearl. Beautiful.
Oh boy,
Anyone
big
else?
surprise.
Do you have any other thoughts? Why is it important?
It's important that we have a prophet, because if we didn't have a prophet, then
It's always easy to answer about the prophet when, let's go back a little bit, the prophet is the guy right there sitting next to you, glaring at your face. What will you say? Why is it important to listen to me? This is also, we bring a woman leader to meeting because, there's this thing about corporate authoritarian humility. You never toot your own horn. You never stand up as big wig leader and say, hey, I am the big wig leader. You must all follow me. Instead, you get underling to talk you up. And that's exactly what is going on here. He has brought underling to talk him up. And of course, any women in the audience, any women in the small children, they're going to say, oh, well, this is the model for behavior for women. They will have to, lick the boots of the prophet in the same way. That is a good thing to do. And that is what we have done. All right.
if we didn't have a prophet, then you wouldn't know what to do, what not to do, and what we could do.
Oh boy, this guy is in for uncomfortable wake up when he eventually studies church history. First of all, it's setting these children up for being completely morally and cognitively dependent upon the church. If we didn't have a prophet, we wouldn't know what we should do or could do. Like, I thought the whole point of the church was to have people instill in themselves their own moral conscience. You know, they give it the name of the Holy Ghost or whatever, but the idea is that you are not dependent upon a religious leader. Like, even if, you know, you are in the PR department filming this, thinking that it is good because you spend all your days getting a paycheck by blowing smoke up the patooties of these old guys, like, at least you would look at this and say, you know, that's probably not the very good principles for us to put out to the children. Like, it should be like, you know, you want to study and research and perhaps listen to your parents, listen to leaders, but test what they say, think for yourself, do not be led down, you know, corruptible paths just because somebody claims to speak for God, because that is, you know, that's a big pitfall. But this is ridiculous. All right.
Still on earth.
That is true.
This woman is a leader in the church, and she just said that is true to the idea that people must be completely and utterly dependent upon religious old guy for them to know what to do in their lives. Like, at least, you know, treat these kids with some modicum of respect. You're just training them up to be complete nothing. Like, there's going to be nothing inside of their moral conscience except for obedience. That's not a good recipe, I'm just telling you.
That is so true. So, are you telling us that it's important to follow the prophet?
Yes.
Allow me to put words into your mouth by asking you if this big culty thing of having to follow the prophet is what you're really trying to say. I will ask you questions and then I will tell you what you are supposed to say, and everybody agree in unison.
Why?
It's important to follow the prophet because if we didn't follow the prophet, we could start to like stray away from the church and not do as many things to like read the scriptures every night. If we stopped reading the scriptures, we would stop really thinking about the church and any other times about the church, and it would just become kind of like annoying to go to the church and
You know, Pearl is obviously, she is empowered young woman because she's the one who's answering these questions. But here we go. Hold up. Hello, you are on the Talk on Things and Stuff. Can you hear me?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What is on your mind today? We are going now to full screen.
Oh, perfect. A lot. Oh, just specifically this screen. Sorry. So, I guess as you've been kind of talking about things, kind of the worship of authority theme. What came to my mind? Sorry, what was that?
No, I was agreeing with you. That's, you know, that seems to be the theme of this video from the prophet is, hey, let me tell you all about how you are supposed to follow what I say and do what I say and don't question it. And if you don't, then you will be left stranded in the world without knowing what to do. You know, it's a little bit of spiritual dependence that we are imposing upon people. That's exactly what's going on, as you were saying.
Right. Anyway, right, and I agree. And I think I have been struck over the last like 2 years, 3 years, ever since Nelson kind of took the reins, particularly when he came out and said, hey, we're not Mormons anymore, and we're going to take the word Mormon and even LDS off of all of the things. Just how, I guess, just from my, I mean, I'm to date myself, I'm in my late 20s. And so I remember a time when people, you know, we didn't like the word Mormon necessarily, but it was before, you know, the I Am a Mormon campaign and things like that when I was younger, probably 10-ish or so. But then, but even then, you didn't have as kind of like this visceral reaction to that word as I've seen in the last 2 years.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like there was this time, I think it was like part of the Hinckley years where it's like, oh, I know people call us Mormon, but we are all members of the Church of Latter-day Saints. We are technically not the Mormons, but it's okay if you do it, but that's not our preferred name. Like that was just, that was okay. And now we got Nelson. He's like, no, calling us Mormons is fulfilling the will and mind of Satan. You must not do this, even though like all the, as you mentioned during the I'm a Mormon campaign, they were like, you know what, let's just roll with it. It's our brand. It's not actually a bad brand because people kind of think Mormons are like clean cut and they don't cuss and stuff and it's not bad. Let's go with it. But I agree, Nelson brought like whole new way of imagining the church. And frankly, it's a little bit more rigid and legalistic in paying so much attention to that.
Right. And I like, and even maybe to bring in a specific example, I have most of my close friends are still believing Mormons, which is fine. I'm out, and they know where I stand on things, and occasionally we disagree on things and there's tension, but generally speaking, it's fine. And the other day, I'm in a group chat with a group of friends and somebody, this was probably a week or two ago when I can't remember, I think it was President Nelson who made the post about getting the vaccine and how there were a whole bunch of ostensibly members of the church commenting about how he shouldn't have done that, this, that, and whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I just kind of made the off the cuff comment. Unfortunately, the anti-vax movement and Mormonism have kind of a strong correlation, unfortunately. And then, for the most part, they tend to agree. Obviously, they're not anti-vaxxers specifically. They agree, and that's one of their frustrations. And it wasn't meant as a dig at anyone individually or even the church necessarily. It was just an observation.
I'm just stating the facts, man. That's all you gotta say.
Right.
It's true. Like, what are you gonna argue? It's not true. It's true.
And then a couple minutes after I had said that, a friend pointed out, he goes, in the chat, he goes, I'm sorry, Ian, who are these? What is this Mormonism of which you speak?
Oh my goodness.
And so, and at first, if it had been a joke, whatever, yeah, whatever, I used Mormon. So I waited several minutes for him to, I don't know, clarify that he was joking or something, and he never did. And eventually, I just went to Wikipedia, to the Mormonism page on Wikipedia, and just posted the link to that in the chat, which was probably slightly petty, but I just and he didn't like that, to sum it up.
So he wasn't joking. It was his real counter argument.
No, and he said no, we don't use that word anymore. And he said we don't use that word. He didn't say anymore. He said we don't use that word, and I ask that you respect my religious beliefs. And I just I left it at that. I just went back to my work at that point. But I don't know. I don't know how to put a fine point on that. That was just kind of what
it's really of. It's a gift to all of the Mormons in that, some angry, crazy, possessed anti-Mormon comes up to them and presents uncomfortable fact. And rather than actually having to address the fact, you can do a semantic shift and talk about, hey, we are not the Mormons. And now, since I have said that we consider it highly offensive and the work of Satan himself for you to use the word Mormon, now you are a religious bigot for calling me that. It's kind of like, it's like if Jews said that people calling them Jews was like a slur and anti-Semitism, then anytime anyone called them that, they could start to shift the conversation to anti-Semitism. You see that would be a rhetorical flair. It would not be a legitimate argument, but it's a way to escape legitimate argument. Of course, the Jews do not do that because that is a ridiculous move, but the Mormons are all about that.
For sure.
It's
All
crazy
about
stuff.
having standing to air grievance, right?
Oh yes, it's what they've done is they have shifted the burden and reversed the offender role. So you may be trying to point out that old or new prophets are teaching or doing hateful and abusive things, but suddenly, because you use the word Mormon, you are the hateful and abusive one and the religious bigot. So there you go.
I would agree. Yeah,
It's
to be
a brilliant rhetorical sleight of hand, and don't fall for it. You could not fall for it in a number of ways. You could say, you could just train yourself not to say Mormon, or you could just say, okay, I agree with you that the issue of the word Mormon is not relevant to what I'm actually talking about. Let's see how you would respond to what I'm actually talking about. Like, do you believe that using the word Mormon is a more egregious offense than, using like anti-government rhetoric and anti-science rhetoric to avoid the issue of vaccines and how they may be helpful to mankind, like and all the people that will die from? Like, is that more important or less important than, I called you by the name that you have been going by for 160 years or whatever?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's clear that you like your friends and you want to get along. And guess what? There's like probably 99% of your life and your interests and what you enjoy, you have in common with your friends. And it's just this area about Mormonism that you differ. And so certainly, enjoy the parts that you have in common with them. You're in good position too, because as evil apostate, you can like make jokes that they can't make, and half the time they will probably enjoy your jokes. If it's like my experience anyway, like they're like, oh, let's see what evil apostate has to say about this, because he can make the joke and say the thing that I can't say.
Right.
Anyway, you sound like a good guy, and I hope you the best with your friends. The friends are what makes life worthwhile. So treat them kindly. They treat you kindly. Get along well is good.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, evil apostate.
All right. Thanks for call. Take care.
Yeah.
Be evil. Stay apostate. All right. Where do we go?
See ya.
I hope people appreciate, the tender situation you are in when you have close-knit group of friends. You kind of go a different way with the church, and your friends are kind of stuck in that way. There's a phase in the process where you just want to go out with all guns blazing. You want to say all the terrible things. Joseph Smith was a pedophile. All these other things that sound like, they are giving form to your anger and your frustration, but they just end up alienating yourself from the very people in your life who give you support when you can. That's what anonymous online forums are for. Like, go to Reddit, make all of your silly accusations, work all your anger out with the people on the Reddit who don't know you from Sam, and then, treat the people in your life as gently as you can, learning how to draw healthy boundaries along the way. That's always good, and doing so in a firm and yet loving way. All right, hold on. We have another call. Hello, you are on Talk on Things and Stuff with the evil apostate. Who are you and what is your favorite? Oh, hello. What is your evil apostate way to be? What?
First, before I say anything else, let me just say quickly, I'm really a huge fan of yours, and I love your alter ego, Jonathan. I'm a super huge fan. What I want to say, as I was listening to President Nelson and Joy Jones talking to those LDS children, is I want to relate a personal experience that I had.
Please do.
Years ago,
yes.
30 some years ago, I returned from a mission was active in my ward, and did what many returned missionaries did. Found myself a beautiful girl, and we went down to Washington D.C. and got married. And anyhow, fast forward 30 years later. Of course, we had a temple wedding, and I forgot to mention that my family are not members of the church. My mom and dad are Catholic. Most of my family is Catholic. And I was so caught up in the temple wedding. I was so immersed in everything that I didn't really give a whole lot of thought to the fact that they wouldn't be able to enter the temple. But I was content to tell them, hey, you'll be able to come to the wedding reception. Anyhow, fast forward 30 years later, I'm talking to my brother, and he let me know at that time, 30 years later, how hurt my mom was. And I said to him, well, my mom never told me, that this made such a huge impact on her. And he said, well, she didn't want to, upset you and make a big deal out of it, but it did hurt her deeply. I'm her firstborn son out of 5 sons. Anyhow, sorry, I'm rambling on here, but the point I want to make is that with all this talk about, depending on your leaders, letting them guide you and do the thinking for you and feeling their love. At the time, there was nobody in the way of leadership that gave me any sense of consider your non-LDS family. And I'll forever regret that. And this is what I would tell those kids. I deeply regret that I didn't think outside of that LDS circle of love, that I didn't think to include my family or think how important this would be to my mom, to the rest of my family. I'm sorry, I know I rambled on here, but
No. Your sentiments are very well put. And, it's breaking my heart just considering like how I would feel with my mother in the same position. I got married in temple and family was able to go. But, it's, granted, I didn't hear your dad's opinion. He was probably like, gosh, Mormon weddings are way cheaper and shorter than Catholic weddings, so I have no complaint here. But, I can definitely feel the heartbreak in the story with your mother. That's one of the things when Evil Apostate broke away, like I kind of realized the distance that existed in my extended family from my convert father, and I reconnected with my uncle, and I kind of, asked him like, what did you guys think when your brother just like started going down this road? And, their answer was, he seemed happy and we wanted him to be happy and we loved him. So we went for it. You don't realize how patient and loving the people around those that get swept up in Mormonism really are, to be able to tolerate these things, and the way that you have placed the organization in the center of your life, and they can only now fit in the corners of your life because it looms so large. And so when you step out of it and you start to see what kind of footprint is left and how it pushed everybody else to the side, it's very humiliating and humbling. And I'm glad you at least were able to have that conversation, even if it was just with your brother. It sounds like your mother may have passed away already.
No, she's actually in a retirement home and has a bit of dementia. But you described that perfectly. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I didn't appreciate at the time how gracious my family was, how gracious my parents were, especially my mom. And she kept quiet about it for all those years, and we've talked about it since. I've apologized. I told her, Mom, I don't know what the heck I was thinking, that I didn't even think of the impact that this would make on you. I said I was so caught up in doing the temple thing, the Mormon sealing, and I didn't think that it would be such a big deal. But now I think back carefully, a mom's firstborn son, she wants to be there. She wants to witness her firstborn son, his marriage, not just attend the reception afterwards. Anyhow,
was it in the basketball court of the chapel?
beg your pardon?
Was the reception at least in a converted recreational hall of a chapel building?
Yeah.
So the most unromantic, unmemorable way possible, and fold up tables and chairs and the whole works and the shebang. Did they at least
Exactly.
hang some garland from the basketball hoop? Because then you know it's special. Oh, no, I kid, but I feel your pain. I really do. And thank you so much for sharing it with the audience and with me.
Thank you, evil apostate. Thank you.
All right, goodbye. Stay evil, stay apostate.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh boy, you get those calls and you're listening and you're like, I know exactly how that feels because I experienced this same thing, and you'd start to feel the sickness all over again. Oh, we got another call. Hold up, here we go. Hello, you are on with Evil Apostate. Speak. Hello? Yes. Let the evil flow through you. You did good. I sound like I need to rewatch episode on demonic possession. I think I'm supposed to raise my right wing and say, leave in the name of the evil apostate. And because I am on the demonic side of things, then the evilness inside of you will be manifest. Hold up, let's go. Hold up, here we go. Hello, you are on with Evil Apostate.
Hello, this is strain of Evil Apostate, or Evil Brother, or Doppelganger. Do you hear me?
Yes, although be a little bit quieter because you are clipping the microphone. Hold the phone further away. Hold the phone further away from your Evil Apostate voice. Speak to me. Tell me of your evil ways. What are the evil things that you do? Do you tolerate the gays?
Yes, I'm from the evil country up north. I wanted to give some people some evil advice to wear masks and wash their hands and get vaccinated.
Evil science invading the scene. Very good, I like it.
Yes, and I was wondering how it happens that all these big evil guys have something to do with health care. You look inside people, and the other guy, John Delaney, looks inside their minds. You all have to do something in health care.
Don't be misspeaking now. Evil apostate John Delaney is not a licensed therapist. He is only life coach. There's difference. Or something like that. I don't know. He's entertainer and discusser, not practicing health practitioner. I think it's just chance, It's kind of like if you look at all the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, none of them are professionals because the Jehovah's Witness culture tells them that, you shouldn't be going to college or getting a degree because that's just going to teach you to think for yourself and you'll leave Jehovah. So instead be window washer, be house cleaner. And then, so all the people who leave are like, gosh, I've got very few life skills with which to make my way. It has two results. Number one, it prevents them from thinking critically. And number two, it keeps them dependent upon the social network of the organization. So it serves twofold purposes in the Jehovah's Witness. But in Mormonism, they're like, hey, get an education, become doctor, become chiropractor, reject the vaccine. No, not reject the vaccine. But that's only for the chiropractors. They're the ones that reject the vaccines. And boy, there are a lot of Mormon chiropractors, tell you what. But anyway, I think it's just chance, you see lots of, chances are if there's ex-Mormon, cis-hetero white guy, it's going to be some professional guy who was following the brethren until they didn't.
Yes, but I don't see an engineer doing this on the internet.
Oh, that's because engineers are all introverts and, they only really like to talk to themselves and work on difficult problems. And frankly, we need people like that.
So what I wanted to say is that I want to send to you and to John Delaney and to Radio Free Mormon some evil love from up north.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your evil sentiments of love and consideration. They're always welcomed. And certainly The commitment you have to speak evil speaking in the name of evil on this podcast is very admirable.
Yes, and talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, there is this goat-like personality channel, and he has a series on how to be a good apostate, to be a better apostate.
Yes.
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 And now I have a question that nobody has addressed before, and I have this
Lay it on me.
big question, why nobody
Okay.
talks about it.
Lay it on me.
Doctrine and Covenants 101.79.
Hold on.
And yes, 101.79. It talks about bondage among men. So why did Utah become a slave state?
Hold on. I'm looking it up. 101. Hold on. Let's see here. There we go. All right. 101.79. We will read scripture.
Yeah.
All right. Therefore, it is not right that any man should be in bondage one to another. Let us look at context. All right. That every man may act in doctrine and principle pertaining to futurity according to the moral agency, oh boy, Bednar, which I have given unto him, that every man may be accountable for his own sins in the day of judgment. Therefore, it is not right any man should be in bondage to one to another. And for this purpose have I established the constitution of this land by the hand of the wise men, whom I have raised up unto this very purpose, and redeemed the land by the shedding of the blood.
Yes. So no bondage but slavery.
Well, I don't know. He's making reference to Constitution, and this. Let's look at the year that this revelation was had. We scroll up and up and up. Given Joseph Smith in Kirtland, Ohio, 1833. This is probably early on, where the church was actually much more in line with the people who were saying that slavery is a violation of the Constitution, and we don't want to respect slave trade. So this is probably among the things that got the church in trouble before they realized, wait a second, if we go down this road, everybody's going to be against us. So we better say, slavery, God doesn't really have much to say about that. It's okay. It's in the Bible and he approved it there, so it's okay. And so it's probably just, one of those things. It's true when the defenders of the church say, hey, Joseph Smith and the church was not in favor of the slavery, and then they were, and then they weren't, and we don't know why. All that is very true when you go look at the timeline. So this is just a snapshot. It's a snapshot. But it's a good observation, good find, because, they'd like to say that God is the same today, yesterday, and forever. And you would think, well, maybe that it would kind of apply. But I think somebody, Richard Peckjack, perhaps points it out that consecration is bondage. I don't know about that, but it does point out that you can always take any of these words and sublimate them from literal to metaphorical, and then be like, no man should be spiritually bound by another man. No man should hold that kind of authority over somebody else. So there's always a way out of it. You can just play with the language.
I think that would be an argument worthy even of Radio Free Mormon, who's a lawyer.
Well, of course it is. He's the most evil of us, but like all the best devils, he hides his evil because he is lawyer. This is lawyer joke. Oh, wait.
Yes.
Okay.
My wife is not a member, so when she found out about the 30-plus wives, she said, how can a man sleep with 30-plus women? It's a question of resistance of materials.
That is such a good question. I don't know, you hear stories from, egotistical, narcissistic men talking about their sexual exploits, and it's like, I slept with thousands of women, and, I guess there's that many days in the year, but I don't know. I guess if you don't have to make them happy beforehand or after, you're just like, here is my authority. Here is the priesthood power. Now I don't want to have to see you again till I need to. Then, that's easier that way. But, that kind of speaks to one of the other videos in that thing was telling people to have the faith of Emma. And you know, with 30 or 40 wives, she better have a lot of faith. Either that or a lot of ignorance about what's actually going on. But, you know, I digress. Anyway, thank you so much for your call, evil
Thank you for the
caller.
dialogue. One more thing. When the
Yes.
COVID thing is over, please go to the evil granny of us all, Sandra Tanner, and have another interview.
Oh, she is apostate, evil apostate number 1. She was so gracious when I talked to her. Check out that video online. Thank you for the call out. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay evil, stay apostate. Okay. My evil ways have spread to the people. I have influence over the people, and they are becoming evil. Soon they will think for themselves. They will reject authority imposed upon them. Anyway, okay, where were we? Okay, let us see. Okay. Again, the phone lines are open. 210-422-2222. Where is the back button? We are pressing the back button. And the back button again. Oh, here we go. They speak for God. They speak for... You know, it's kind of funny because I get into arguments with some Mormons and I'm like, you know, the prophet claims to speak for God. And they're like, the prophet doesn't claim to speak for God. You're speaking false things. I'm like, dude, they said the prophet speaks for God. No. The prophet just tells what he believes God's impressions are. You know, you have to study it out for yourself. And I'm like, did you listen to the prophet? Like, it's in Doctrine and Covenants section 1, like... You know, whether it is by mine own voice or the voice of the prophet, it is the same. That's kind of their shtick. No, you're reading too much into it. You're just trying to be contentious. Whatever. Okay, whatever. Well, here we go. You know, follow the prophets. They speak for God, but the prophets could get things wrong. So don't just follow them. It's a double mind. You know, whenever they say bland blah, you know, don't steal, don't rape, don't kill, don't be mean. Like, you don't have to be a prophet to say that. But, you know, then they say creepy stuff that doesn't make sense. And you're like, are you speaking as a prophet or are you speaking as a man? And then, you know, that's like Schrodinger's box. You know, it's, you know, the cat is in the box and you don't know if it's alive or dead till you look at the box. Well, you know, things that the prophet says, like Schrodinger's crap. You don't know if it's crap unless, you know, later it would be embarrassing to admit that the prophet was speaking for God when he said that. It's Schrodinger's crap. Anyway, all right, so let's go back. Hold on. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. Here we go. There we go. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, what else do we have here? How to be more like Jesus. Well, at least they brought Jesus into it. You figure it'd be like, unless the answer is follow the prophet. Let's see here. Well, let's see what the Emma Smith thing is. Wait, where did it go? Here it is. How to have the faith like Emma. How to have a husband who has already secretly married over 20 or 30 women and turn the blind eye because you have faith that he is being true to you as a husband.
You know, from the earliest days of the church, women have displayed remarkable courage with their faith. Emma was a wonderful example of that. She married a man who her parents disapproved of because she knew that he had integrity and because he loved her deeply.
Well, you know, if I were to ask you, Jean Bingham, if your husband secretly married 20 or 30 other women without telling you about it, would you consider those to be acts of deception or acts of integrity? I have a feeling your answer would be the former and not the latter. But, you know, apparently faith sublimates all of those things. Okay.
She supported and strengthened him in his development as a leader and a prophet. She had a baby here and only lived a very short time. And when she was so desperately ill after this baby died, she encouraged Joseph to go and find Martin Harris and find out what had happened to those 116 manuscript pages that he'd taken with him. when you think about her faith and devotion, it's an example for each one of us today. I know that women in the church today can have that same courage in their faith, need to have that same courage in their faith, to live the gospel and to take advantage of the revelation that we receive through our keeping our covenants, reading the Book of Mormon, all those helps that Heavenly Father has given us so that we can guide our families, so that we can bless those in our communities, so that we can have answers in our personal, our individual lives.
You know, to be fair, she's very much like the girl, the little primary girl Pearl in the last video. You know, if she grows up and keeps the same mentality that you just have to follow the prophet and do everything that the prophet tells you what to do and defer all judgment and all, considerations to what the prophet says, well, then you probably end up like Sister Brigham here. Because, you know, what she's talking about, like Emma, you know, had the child die in childbirth and she's like, no, Joseph, go do your thing with Martin Harris. Like, you know, this is just the pattern for women in the church. You know, it doesn't matter how sick, how put upon, how much of a burden you carry with the normal trials of life, you know, still let your husband prioritize this big corporate church in what he spends his time and efforts doing. You know, regardless of what you're doing, you just have to suffer, and your suffering will be a blessing to the Lord. You know, it's kind of the way that it is. And it seems good when you're in the mindset that this is a good thing, but when you realize it's not quite legitimate in the way that it says it's legitimate, all of those things suddenly can be looked back upon, and it's not an expression of faith. It's acting the part of the victimized person who was put upon by a fraud. And doing it in a way that completely subjugates you as a woman and does not consider your interests or priorities in the same way. But you have the good bob haircut, you wear the clean pantsuit, and you say it to the prophet to his face because, you know, she's not really free to say anything else. If she were say like, you know, Emma Smith perhaps learned the lesson that many women throughout history learn, which is that they need to start and establish their own boundary and priorities and not let men deceive them and put them about because then they get abused. Like, that would not be a lesson completely. She would probably find herself in a different seat in the next week because he's the boss man. But here we go.
So grateful for Emma and all of her sisters in the early days of the Restoration who've been an example to me and to all of our sisters. I'm so grateful for her leading influence in the founding of the Relief Society. And
you know, it's really kind of sad because to the extent that Emma had to put up with the abuses of her husband, putting her in her place, lying to her face about his practice of polygamy, deceiving her, stooping other women on the side. Like, the fact that Emma put up with all that now because she is the great lady elect, all of the subsequent generation of women are now told that that is the model that they have to follow. So they have to subjugate themselves at least to that amount in order to feel like they're living up to the legacy of womanhood in the church. Is really terrible. But that's the way that it is. It's crazy. Again, you can call 210-422-2222 if you would like to join the conversation. We are just shooting the breeze. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of clicking on stuff. Here we go.
I hope each one of us can make that commitment to be strong and faithful and to recognize that sacrifices will be made and have to be made. But that's part of the Lord's plan, where we learn and we grow and we become able to return to Him.
Thank you for that wonderful expression. We are very grateful for the sisters of the church. Speaking as for the men of the church, we're very grateful. And as our missionaries go out in the world, leave their families and finance their own way, together we support.
Excuse me, the coins are getting stuck up my butt of the large pile of $100 billion that I am sitting on while I talk about the missionaries funding their own way. Hold on. Okay, we got the call. Hold up. Let's see. Hello, you are on the Talk on Things and Stuff.
Evil apostate.
Do I hear the voice of an evil apostate
I'm
fellow?
from San Diego. But anyway, so I have a question, and I'm not a Mormon, so this
Oh.
is just simply a question. But
Okay, yes.
from that which I've studied Mormonism, obedience is the only justification for anything. Is that not correct?
Well,
You read the Book of Mormon, it's the
Yes.
book between good and evil, and if you're good, you were obedient. So explain to me obedience.
Well, you have caught on to the secret hidden gem of the moral universe of Mormonism. And that gem is that there is only one real moral principle in Mormonism, and that is obedience to authority. And not just any authority, but legitimate authority that claims to speak from God. So, and this extends all the way down. So any moral principle that you might have, let's say, like, what is the worst moral principle? You kill someone, right? Murder, right? Well, murder is bad, and they can talk every day about murder being bad, but you go to the scriptures, and as soon as some religious authority says you got to kill this guy because God says so for his own purposes, well, suddenly murder is good. And so that tells you that it's not, the moral principle is not don't kill. The moral principle is obey your leaders, obey authority. Because at any point in the way, it can be subverted. This is called divine command morality. And it's a relative type of morality because everything is only relative to what the prophet says. So, you can look at all the embarrassing chapters of history, whether it is that story in the Book of Mormon or the Mountain Meadows Massacre or even Joseph Smith's polygamy, and you have all of these immoral things that are elevated to moral expressions of righteousness because they are in obedience to what the church leader says. So you get it on the button. Good job.
Yeah, so, but my question is, like, I don't know much about Mormonism. I'm not even religious. I'm not trying to push anything here, but
yes,
what I know about Mormonism is that I thought Jesus said that you had free agency, and I thought Satan said that obedience was the So I'm just curious how and when and why they adopted obedience as their moral compass.
Well, it's a little bit Orwellian in that the things are the opposite of what you think they are. But it's all word games. And the thing that you're observing is perhaps what is behind some of the more recent leaders like Elder Bednar making a big deal about how what we have is not free agency. We have something called moral agency. And what that is supposed to mean is that, yeah, we are free to choose, but the only legitimate choice is to obey. Yes. And so, I always got the sense that Satan's plan was that we had to obey. There was no choice.
That's basically what the Mormons are saying.
Yeah. But the Mormons are saying you have a choice, but the only legitimate choice is to obey. So, it's like they point a gun at you.
That's what Satan said.
Well, no, Satan would be like they don't have a choice. They have to obey. So, everybody is drone.
The Mormons are saying, well, you have a choice, but your only choice is to obey. So
well,
how is that not you have to obey?
Well, it's a semantic thing, but you're right. There's really no choice because it's like, oh, my eternal soul or do what this guy says. And of course, you're going to do what the guy says unless you have extracted your conscience.
Or you lose your family. So
oh, yeah, totally.
This is the craziest nonsense I ever heard, and I'm just an outside observer.
Well, see, you can never really be true apostate because you were never true believer. You just have to.
Exactly right. So I'm hoping that if I get a second chance and I get to see God, I get to kick Joseph Smith in the fucking ball.
Those balls, they need a good kicking because they've been abused.
I'm sorry, evil apostate. My bad.
Yes, do not use the word balls here because I am a dragon. I have a cloaca, not the balls. But anyway, no, that's enough of that reptilian anatomy.
All right. Well, so like obedience is basically. I mean, when I watch General Conference, and I'm one of those weird non-Mormons who actually does.
Oh, you are totally weird. Like, I don't even like to watch. I can't even stand General Conference now. Like, what? Surely there's something better you can be watching than General Conference.
No, but if you turn it into a drinking game and every time they allude to obedience, you drink, it gets way better.
Dude, your liver cannot survive that. I'm telling you right now.
All right. Verily it came to pass, evil apostate. Keep being you.
All right, thanks for the call. Stay evil. You will never be apostate because you are heathen. Goodbye.
Oh, ha. Thank you.
So that tells you what kind of crazy people there are in the world. Some people are like, hey, I want to listen to 10 hours of people sniffing their own farts and telling you that it is divine approbation on the internet. But, you know, that's where we go. All right. Okay, let's see. Again, if you would like to join the conversation for 210-422-2222, you can call and talk to the evil apostate. What time is it? Oh, okay, I got to wrap it up sometime soon here. Let's see. Heidi Rice says, ex-Mormons on Reddit has been taken over with tattoo selfies. Why are ex-Mormons so obsessed with tattoos? I don't know. I think it's, you know, some of it is probably just like, you know, F you, I won't do what you tell me. And so it's almost a metaphor for, you know, expressing in a very physical, tangible way that they will not be constrained by the restrictions of the church in a way that is very personal to them. And, you know, more power to them. If they want to do that, there's no harm in it. It's no big deal. You know, just wait for, you know, 40, 50 years from now when all the nursing homes are going to be full of people with saggy thighs and shoulders and you know, the floppy bags under their arms that will have tattoo ink on them. That's just how it is. If you want to do it, you can do it. Bob Peck says, I have a tattoo of evil apostate. You should never do this. This is a terrible thing. Plus, evil apostate, I believe, is copyrighted by some company. You know, he's only really the demon of evil apostate, possessing the body of a piece of cloth. So he may show up in another form eventually. We don't know. But he is evil. Good luck with you on that one, Bob Peck. Let's see. Did we miss any other comments? Stephen Jackson said, I'm glad to see she has faith to be multiple wife. Too bad she's not a looker. I don't know which Emma Smith you were looking at, but if you go and check the Emma Smith, she was a looker. Hold on. Here we go. Hello, you are on with the evil apostate.
Evil apostate, yay! How's it going, EA?
I'm doing good. I'm doing evil. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. I'm fair to partly evil, but I'm working on it.
Okay, well.
Hey, you say what's on your mind? I got a story I want to share with you. Are you ready?
Okay, lay it on me.
You're gonna like it. Okay. All right. Evil apostate. I'm a fan of comedy. I always have been. And years ago, this is like 25 years ago or so. There's a comedian named Elaine Boozler who's very funny. I don't see her anymore, but, you know, I don't know if she retired, but she's hilarious. She had a joke about topless Mormons. And she set up the joke, blah, blah, blah. You know, Mormon girls gone wild. They were topless. And here's the punchline. No bonnet. Okay? Topless. Topless women. Nobody. See? You're evil.
It's good.
You get it. I got a little evil, so I got it. So I said, you know, this is a chestnut I need to store away so I can share later. And so when I thought the time was appropriate, it came up it was actually in church, but, you know, not a sacrament, but in a priesthood meeting with the guys or something. I said the joke, and it wasn't just crickets. It was beyond crickets. It was like, who farted? That's what it was.
Brother Gimpy Geezer, we need to have a talk later.
That's exactly.
I need to call you into my priesthood office so we can discuss.
I've had many of those meetings actually. But anyway, that's another story. Anyway, so I don't know. A couple years later, it came up and said, you know, it was my delivery. I didn't sell it. It was certainly me.
Don't tell me you did it again. You did it again.
I did again. This was in a social setting that, like, with church members. Yeah, who farted? I just wish I had taken a picture of the look on their face. Anyway, so I said, okay, well, this isn't working. But many years later, we're at some friends' houses, and it's a great night. We're having fun. The comedy's flowing, and it's the perfect time. I'm hitting. I said some jokes. People laughed. Other people said some stuff. Everybody's laughing. Certainly, this is a pristine moment. And these are people I know. I've known for years, right? But they are TBM, True Believer Mormons.
I can just see you. You're like, okay, the night is good. I've greased the skids enough. It's time for me to whip out the topless bonnet joke. Here I go.
That's exactly right. That's it. Third time's a charm. Oh, it never died harder. Just because it was really good. There was laughter, and it was great. And these are wonderful people. We like each other. And it just killed it all. Who farted and who stole my merriment?
All the wives are like, do you realize, Gimpy Geezer, you just made my husband think about topless women for 30 seconds until you hit us with the punchline? Now I have to compare myself with the topless women of my husband's imagination.
Exactly. Yeah, I gotta tighten that up. I gotta tighten up my. Anyway, I was just thinking, it cracked me up so much, and I saw I got Evil Apostate. Oh my God! And what's on your mind? Well, I just thought I'd share and make your day, Evil Apostate.
Well, you did good. I always appreciate the stories of when you were, one of those unorthodox, crazy guys in the back of the room who would crack stuff up, because they were my favorite Mormons. So you did good.
You can crush my soul, but you can't have all of my spirit. You can't. All right, hey, I love you, Evil Apostate. You better show up more often. You take care.
Well,
okay?
we'll see. All right, take care. It was good to hear your voice. All right, take care, man. All right, you clowns. I better wrap it up because Lady Evil Apostate is expecting some smoked meat in the form of garlic drumsticks that I think I might be too late on. We will see. I will be in the big trouble if I don't get them cooked. Anyway, all right, thanks for joining me in episode of Talk on Things and Stuff. Perhaps next time that clown streeter will be back. We will see. Anyway, until next time, stay evil, stay apostate. Yeah.